The opinions of the audience as to what they want to see in the media product are imperatives to the creative process and the success of the product as a whole. In 1974, Blumer and Katz created the user gratification theory, which categorizes the ways in which audiences interact with media products. And it is evident that, as a film, media products are wanted from the audience for entertainment, social interaction, and potentially information. With this in mind, knowing that the audience want to get out the film specifically when headed by these categories, it makes my media product much more efficient as a piece of entertainment for a specific audience. In 2008, Plunkett stated, "A new generation of UK media power players are ditching the traditional gatekeepers and going straight to their audience via the web. This is just as relevant now, with the internet being potentially the biggest worldwide phenomenon, and thus this makes it so much easier to get a quick audience feedback from the people anywhere across the globe. To collect my audience research, I used a website called SurveyMonkey, and I found the information I received invaluable in the creation of a successful media product. I created 4 questionnaires throughout the process of making my film, with the initial one to find the genre and audience for my film, by aiming the questions towards college students, which allowed me to get a specific target audience of people I can relate to and see what this audience would like to see in a short film. I then took this information and came up with a couple of draft narratives and put the best one to the audience to see what they could specifically like the narrative to involve without spoiling it for them. Once this narrative had been shot, we then edited most of the footage. I created a questionnaire, a short one, which inquires about the desired aspects of sound and special effects so that the whole film can be made around the wants of the audience. And finally, I made a final feedback questionnaire about what the audience thought of the final product and what improvements should be made. In the first questionnaire, I found that my primary target audience consists of mainly students aged 16 to 21, with a few secondary viewers slightly older and younger, from 13 to 25, with 50-50 split between male and female. All of the people that completed the survey fall into social classes E, D and C2. This is indicative of them being students or living in households with low income. These people are predominantly heterosexual, with 2 bisexual people, meaning that the audience of the film is not expecting representation of other sexualities, as it probably not appeals to them, on the most part. The next part of the survey was aimed towards the genre of the film, and 80% of the survey said they like watching British short films, and with 20% not enjoying this. This means that this 20% will not watch the short, or they will watch and either back up their current opinion, or their current opinion on British shorts will change. This comes down to the finished product. On genre, there was an overruling preference towards horror and psychological thriller, therefore we decided to accommodate this and make a hybrid between the two. Furthermore, the setting of an asylum was most popular. In terms of the title of the film, I suggested a range of different ones, and the most popular came out to be No Escape. So this is the title of the film. I concluded the survey by asking the audience what they thought was the most effective logline, and they voted for: "A schizophrenic adolescent seeks to escape his own mind in an unlawful venture into the asylum." This has been changed slightly over the course of creating the film, but this is the basis for the logline and the synopsis. For the narrative part of the film, I asked more specific questions about the characters, locations, themes, and similar products. The skeletal idea of a fictional short film about the effects of schizophrenia on a teenage boy deemed popular. So this idea is what we stuck with. The setting of an old abandoned asylum also retained popularity. And so this was the main location selected for the main action. In terms of the characters, 3 main characters were said to be the most appropriate number to have, and these characters should be between 16 and 18 years old, similar to the target audience's ages. When asked about the similar TV shows and films that the audience had watched, it was clear that a range had been watched, but also showed that many of the audience had seen no similar products. This means that some won't know what to expect within the film, and it may not appeal to them, or they could really love it. For those who have seen similar products, it just makes it even more certain that this short film needs to be original and exciting, not a repetitive storyline that has been made multiple times. Television programs like American Horror Story, CSI, and films such as The Blair Witch Project and A Clockwork Orange deemed popular, which shows us that the concepts of mystery, crime, psychology, and horror are well-linked themes which appeal to the audience. In addition to this, I asked about the themes that the audience want to see in No Escape, and a range was selected, including violence, police investigation, action sequences, and, not a theme but an important part of costume design, special effects. However, amongst these, the popular choices were friendship, family life, and mental health. So these are the main themes in the narrative that it should comprise of. The final question I asked was whether or not the audience would like to see parts of the film in black and white, a common convention of thriller films. And the response was a resounding yes, so any action that takes place in the film would be in black and white to incorporate this. The third questionnaire I put forward to the audience only consisted of 3 questions, but contained the things essential to the film in post-production. The first question was, how much CGI would you like to see within the short? The response was mainly a bit, so we know not to put too much in, and instead put in a smaller, good bit of CGI. The second question asked their opinion of overlaid clips on top of the main footage. I wanted this question to get specific responses to this, so I gave 2 choice options of yes and no, but also added a comment box so people completing the survey could tell me exactly what they thought. The results of this was either by selecting yes I like it or commenting the audience would like to see overlaid footage, which gave the perfect opportunity to overlay the main character's diagnosis of his mental illness. The last question I asked the audience was about sound, and more specifically which sounds they wanted to see the most. Of course, all of the elements of sound are essential to the narrative, but the key part of this question was to get the audience's opinion of the addition of voices that the main character would hear in his head. And this being a small no-budget production, how much audience would like interesting Foley effects and ambient sound. All of the answers, the ones mentioned as well as dialogue and score, received votes, but essentially, psychological voices, dialogue and score deemed most popular. This means that these other sounds to focus on getting right in editing, whilst still paying attention to the others, but these are the most important. In my final questionnaire, I asked about the general reception of my media products, and the overall feedback was really good. Most of the responses said they liked the film, poster, and magazine review article, and others said it was okay, but no one said they didn't like the products, which is good. This shows that we have effectively fulfilled the wants and needs of our target audience as per the Bloomer and Katz uses and gratification theory, where the audience access the products for information, socialisation and entertainment. However, when I asked if the suspense was built, one person said no, and this means that for improvements I need to work on tension building in any future films I make. When I asked my audience for feedback on improvements, the general message was, as said before, suspense could have been built better, but as a first-time short film, this production package was pretty good. Overall, the feedback of my audience has been invaluable during the process of creating my film, and this is why I've consulted their opinions every step of the way to make sure that my media products are products that intrigue the audience throughout. And as my final survey concludes, the audience research paid off as the audience did enjoy my work, and this means that it succeeded in its purpose. Peter Fraser, British fine art photographer, once said that technology is a broader version of the conventional literacy which enables all visual, oral and digital forms, seeking to enable people to become thoughtful media producers and interpreters of media. David Gauntlet furthered this by saying that the view that the internet is and new digital media as an optional extra is replaced with the recognition that people have fundamentally changed the ways we engage with all media. In this, the digital age, media technologies are a fundamental part of how we work as media producers, and therefore I've relied on it heavily in the completion of my advanced portfolio. After I complete my A-levels, I would like to study a degree in film production. I felt the best choice of brief for me was the short film brief, with an accompanying poster and double-page magazine review article. This has really allowed me to get the full experience of the level of pre-production required before shooting the film, how to work with actors and cinematography on set, and all of the post-production work once the film is complete. However, in order to fully understand the conventions of short films in the thriller/horror genres, I had to complete research, mostly via the internet and through the analysis of existing products. Since the 1990s, the internet has become available for commercial use, and now in 2015 this is a fundamental part of all research. In addition to research, the internet has been essential in the presentation of my blog, where I've used Google's Blogger. Using an internet blog to compile my work has been invaluable because it lets you upload images, write text, embed videos and hyperlink, all of which I've been utilised in the presentation of my portfolio. Blogger also publishes posts in chronological order, which is helpful in showing the natural progression of the project. To embed videos onto the blog, I copied the video's HTML and pasted it into the HTML of my blog. Mostly I use videos from YouTube, the biggest video sharing network in the world, whether to watch and reference as part of my research or to upload and present videos of my own, as it is a large database of videos that offer tips on elements of filmmaking and representation, and also presents videos with comments and ratings for any feedback on my own work, as well as helpful options to share and embed each video. Making a film that appeals to the target audience is essential. Therefore, another website I used heavily was SurveyMonkey. This website specialises in simple surveys that are easy to make, complete, and analyse. Once I designed my questionnaires, it provided me with a web link that would take you to the survey to fill in, which is especially handy for posting on social media sites for audience feedback. Then it makes analysing my results very efficient due to the website's presentation of this information on graphs and in tables, allowing me to retrieve reliable information on the needs and wants of my target audience. As briefly mentioned, social media sites have also been very helpful in quickly getting feedback from my target audience. In 2006, Toby Miller stated, "By looking at how culture is used and transformed by social groups, cultural studies see people not as simply as consumers, but as potential media producers of new social values and cultural language," which comments on the popularity of social media and how it allows users to become producers of media, not just as spectators of it. Social networks such as Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, and LinkedIn are some of the most used websites in the world, and this means that communicating with people worldwide is as easy as clicking a button. In terms of my coursework, this allowed me to get responses from a variety of people, and thus I can make my short film to suit their needs and wants. When beginning to create my practical production, I needed to make an equipment list of technology available to use in creating the free products. This included using Canon 5D and 60 SLR cameras for the shooting of my film, and images used in the ancillary tasks. This quality of camera allows my film and photographs to reflect this. Furthermore, we used 64GB memory cards in each camera, as this ensures that there is enough room to store each clip, and it also improves the quality of the footage captured. To avoid the footage being shaky and unprofessional, we mostly stuck to still cameras on tripods, and therefore we used very few camera movements, although we did use a variety of shot types and angles. For example, worm's eye view, low angle, eye level, medium shots, long shots, close-ups and extreme close-ups. In addition to the camera work, we used a sound recorder and a boom mic on set in order to record all the diegetic sound, whether it be dialogue or ambient sound. This allowed our sound to be high quality as opposed to relying on the capturing of sound from the cameras. This, however, presented challenges on set and in editing. On set with the sound recorder requiring batteries, we had trouble with the amount of batteries required and the type of batteries that worked on it. Kodak batteries would not work in the machine, however we found that Duracell rechargeable batteries did, and even though they worked, they drained quickly, resulting in the need to replace them frequently. Although we had enough batteries to accommodate this frequent change, was inconvenient throughout the shoot, and from this we learned that technology is as unconventionally thought about as batteries does also need to be prepared for by, for example, checking that all the batteries work in the recorder before the shoot and making sure there are plenty of spares. In addition to this, the editing process was made slightly harder by it being required to match up the sound with the visuals by cutting up the sound, removing any unnecessary parts. However, the sound quality benefited greatly from this process. To edit our film, we used Premiere Pro and After Effects on Apple Mac computers. Having not used either of these state-of-the-art programs before year 13, I had to learn about them before jumping in with my editing. So I developed my skills with smaller projects first, such as moving image adverts for local businesses. This allowed me to get to grips with the functions available to us to make our film the best it can be. After each film shoot, I imported all of the footage we collected from the memory card onto the Mac and then saved it onto a hard drive to ensure it was safely secure. After reviewing which takes were good and which we should be discarded, I imported the usable footage to Premiere Pro. I then transferred each clip in film order onto the timeline to manipulate by cutting as required. Once the whole scene was edited together, I then layered any extra parts over the top. For example, the clip with the doctor, that is over the action in the asylum in scene 6, where we changed the opacity setting so that both the scenes were visible. Then, as mentioned before, imported the diegetic sound to cut and place over the top of the visual in the same fashion as before, but in the audio row. In After Effects, I created the animated film title that appears towards the beginning of the film. To do this, I used the horizontal type tool to write the words "No Escape." I used the brush tool, the clone stamp tool, and the eraser tool when making the debris. I had to constantly pre-compose each layer, and the final product ended up being an animated explosion of the title. To construct my poster and magazine article, I used Photoshop and InDesign, both of which I had experience of from GCSE and AS Media, and therefore adjusting exposure, contrast and opacity of the images was very simple to do, as well as using the quick selection and magic wand tools to cut out the subject of my images, creating solid fill shapes by using the rectangular marquee tool and going to Layer, New Fill Layer to creating text boxes using the horizontal type tool. InDesign I found most effective for the insertion of text into columns in order to follow conventions of magazine articles. To do this, I created a large text box using the type tool and then go to Layer, Margins and Columns and then change the number of columns to 2. I can then repeat this and use the selection tool to move around my text boxes to keep them level, and up to margins to make them look neat and professional, as opposed to doing this on Photoshop when the columns will most likely be uneven and difficult to move around. Upon finishing all planning and production, I then had to evaluate my work in a video. This involved using a Canon 60 SLR camera to film myself whilst I talked about my work, and then editing the footage. I used iMovie for this editing because it's much simpler to use than Premiere Pro for an easy to edit film such as this. The main functions I used were blue screen in order to place snapshots of my work behind me in the video, and adding transitions and titles between questions to make the film clear. I then exported the video and uploaded it to YouTube to embed onto my blog. This was fairly easy compared to the amount of editing that was required for the short film, especially due to the amount of experience editing the short film had given me. Overall, from research and planning to the full extent of making my short film, it is clear that I wouldn't have been able to do it without media technology. Successfully completing those tasks meant being reliant on technology in many forms that all contribute to the creation of 3 media products, and it's particularly exciting that I've been lucky enough to have such a wide range of technology to help me create a film in such high quality.